Hey y'all, it's a little late, but I wanted to share a few things with you, thoughts that have been running through my mind today, and I haven't really had a chance to uh, to get them down, uh, to pull them out of the ether and put them before you, as it were. But now's my chance. So, um, I saw something today on Twitter. I won't say I don't often visit Twitter, but I happened to be there for a couple of minutes a day, and I saw something posted by someone whom I will not identify because I have identified this person in the past, and that this person has let me know that he or she does not wish to be identified, so I will not say who this person is. Um, but the post was of a picture of an elegant ballroom dance and a bunch of very uh, smartly dressed, good looking young people uh, doing these doing these intricate ballroom dance moves, men and women both, uh, and executing them with poise, uh, and it's all just very uh, uh, what's the word besides elegant? From a cultural point of view, it's very elevating. It's not that I'm a particular advocate of ballroom dance per se. I'm not that I'm against it, but I'm not crazy about it or anything like that. But just seeing this portrayed, and by the way, this was taking place in a foreign country that is not on great terms with the West right now. That's all I will say about this country. Um, but seeing young people, you know, poised, elegant, well dressed, um, you know, uh, passing on or keeping in touch with this traditional form of dance uh, was both heartening and also saddening. The heartening part was seeing that this is being done somewhere. The saddening part is knowing that it's not being done in the West anymore. Um, that these kinds of traditions, and they don't have, it doesn't have to be something so highfalutin as a ballroom dance. But, uh, you know, the best and brightest, so-called, in the Western world today, the academic elite in the West are busy trying to destroy beauty or undermine or deconstruct beauty, uh, or just they think it's good to to just rub your face in shit, and they call it art, and that's how they that's what they how they take pride in themselves as being elevated and educated, but um, but as for the traditional forms, they've been, as we all know, just tossed in the dumpster. Um, and it's not only sad, it's frustrating, and if you dwell too much on it, it can be quite infuriating. Um, because again, the decline of the West isn't just happening of its own accord. It isn't just happening, uh, as part of some natural process. It's happening because people with names and addresses are making it happen. Okay, so and the I could say some other things about this this ballroom dance scene that was depicted. Uh, you know the I think I already said that they were fit and well dressed and all of that. And I'm not one like look at me. I'm a slob. I'm when I say well dressed, I'm not. I'm obviously saying that from the point of view of admiration, but not saying it from the point of view of like we all if you don't get up and put on a suit and tie, then you don't deserve to live, or something like that. I mean, you all know me. You've seen the kind of things I wear, but still, there is something to be said for uh, uh, you know putting your best forward, putting the best of you forward, and there is something to be said for keeping healthy traditions going. Uh, which is not being done in any systematic way here in the West. In the West, they're being systematically destroyed. Um, Now, here's the thing that occurred to me as I was mulling all this over. I thought about how the people who would try to argue with you when you say things are in decline, the people who would try to say, who try to just to dismiss your observations and label your concerns as specious and utterly reactionary and racist, sexist, and homophobic, or whatever. Um, how they would say things they have a recourse. They would say things like, "Oh well, people have always said that. People are always saying that things are falling apart. They were saying it in the 20s with ragtime. They were saying it in the 50s with rock and roll, Um, and so what that really is, and I hadn't thought about it this way before, but what that really is that's like a way that they put up this um, um, it's like this barrier that they attempt to throw up to 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 to, to place uh, in your vision, and the I'm not saying they necessarily do this on purpose, but there is something very insidious about it. And even if they're not doing it, even if they're doing it without thinking about what they're doing, they're still doing it. And it's well, like I've talked before about how I hate and loathe dismissiveness, just waving something away, or just saying meh, as people it used to be. It was this annoying trend on the internet a few years ago. It was sort of a 2014, 2015 sort of trend. Now people do other obnoxious things, say other obnoxious things on the internet, but they used to say meh, meh, a lot. You would go into an explanation, a passionately worded treatise, and then they would say meh. Well, what they do now is there's that emoji with the the shrugging person with his or her hands held out like this, like I don't know. Um, that's sort of the same kind of reaction, and what they don't mean they it's not that they don't know, that they're claiming that they don't know, or just shrugging about it. They're really dismissing it, but it's passive aggression. That's what's so annoying about it. But anyway, this saying, oh well, people have always said that, like it was said in the past. Okay, so here's how the reasoning goes. If you want to tease it out, X is being said now. X or something similar to X was being said in the past. Therefore, X was wrong in the past, and therefore X is wrong now. Neither of those corollaries holds true at all. Neither of them is by any means self-evident. You know, maybe they were complaining about ragtime in the 20s, and they were complaining about rock and roll in the 50s. That doesn't mean that they were just to be dismissed. Doesn't mean that there was anything non-objectionable about what was going on in those eras. Although I don't have personal objections to ragtime or rock and roll. But I do know that, the Weimar Republic was a time of dreadful decadence and degeneracy. And I've talked about how, that was Weimar. This is why America. I've talked about it. I'm not the one who's made that up, but I've made reference to it. So that was happening in the 20s amongst, ragtime and, I don't know, expressionist filmmaking and whatever other trends were going on during that period. And there were objectionable things happening, for sure. For certain there were. But I think what's going on now, if you doesn't hold a candle to anything that people complained about in the past also. So I wouldn't just automatically dismiss, somebody who has who sees a problem with trends in the past. I wouldn't just say he's a fuddy-duddy or whatever. But I would also say, it's not and this is the last point that I'll make here. The problem is not vulgarity per se. What does vulgar mean? Vulgar has different meanings, of course. Vulgar in its the most negative sense means something that's coarse or profane or just low and base. But vulgar can also just be a reference to something that's maybe not high culture, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's vulgar in the sense of being coarse or base or having any other negative connotations that vulgar tends to have. You like the kind of entertainments that working class people are into, in a sense, in the older sense of the term vulgar, that word might apply there. But that doesn't mean that it's bad. Okay, so the problem isn't the existence of culture that isn't high class, and that's what I thought. Not everybody in the world is going to be a ballroom dancer or a ballet dancer or into Shakespeare or Sophocles or whatever. Not everybody's going to be into these high culture sort of endeavors, but low culture while maybe in the past it was silly and it was less, you know, uh, less elevated as far as being of the mind and so forth. It was still in the past. It was more often wholesome. Uh, Today is certainly not wholesome. What gets marketed to the masses is absolutely not wholesome for the most part. Um, you know, uh, I mean, I don't even have to I don't have to become like Ben Shapiro 3 years ago talking about Megan the Stallion. Um, I don't have to give specific examples. You'll know what I'm talking about. Turn on the radio and listen to what's charting now. Uh, and it's not just that it's maybe not brilliant and maybe not uh, um, if it's for the masses, that doesn't mean that it's bad. The masses need the arts as well. They need song. They need dance. It's part of being human. Um, but the dance, that's that swept across the nation used to be the Charleston, and now it's the uh, thrust your crotch into my face dance. I don't even know. It's the latest, or twerk in my twerk in my face while I simulate oral intercourse. Whatever, or something like that. You know, uh, you look at that and you say this is awful, and the naysayer, the fact checker, will say, "Excuse me, they were saying the same thing about the Charleston in 1923." Oh, really? Really, smart guy? Really? Really? That's what you're actually going to say. You're actually going to try to convince me. You're going to try to just fling forth this this dismissive and very unimaginative uh, you know line. This contrarian, this pseudo contrarian line, which is really just it really just it's just a intellectual dishonesty. It's just an effort to say any concerns you ever could possibly have can be dismissed because people have always complained about things uh, things falling apart and you know um, things becoming absolutely disgusting and degenerate. Um, People have always complained about that, so therefore, they're always going to complain about that. And the corollary is, you know, they always have complained, they're complaining now, they're always going to complain, and they'll always be wrong. They were wrong in the past, they're wrong now, they'll be wrong in the future. Well, there's no evidence. Show me how or why they were wrong in the past. Why? Because the Charleston wasn't that bad. Okay, I'll give you that. But there were still other bad things happening in the 20s. Read The Great Gatsby. You know, it, it's not all wholesome, I'll tell you that. um, Read The Wasteland. Uh, what else? What else? Look at what was happening in Berlin uh, before 1933. Look at the cultural trends in the cabaret scene. you know, It's it wasn't really what most decent people would want to would consider good family entertainment. And today, I mean, it's on beyond any of that. So there you go. Just some thoughts. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments below.